Hey guys, welcome back to the Western Vocal channel of SIFF Young Artiste, where we nurture the artist in you. I'm Anirudh, and today is episode number 3 of our weekly live series Feedback Fridays. So we are live every Friday at 5 p.m. and I'm reviewing and giving feedback to clips of you guys singing that you have sent to us. If you haven't watched the previous 2 lives, I'll quickly give you the guidelines. You'll find a link in the description below. So if you haven't uploaded a video of you yet, please do. And I will be picking 5 to 6 videos each week and giving feedback to those on how you can improve your singing. And a few guidelines regarding the videos you send. Ideally, it should be at least 1 minute long. We are reviewing about 1 minute to 1 minute 20 seconds. It can be an audio as well, but we prefer a video because, as I've mentioned before, there are also physical aspects to singing which you guys can improve on, and mistakes in your physical aspects can lead to mistakes in singing. So a video would be better, if not an audio, at least 1 minute long. Any language is fine, but try not to use any effects such as auto-tune or any of the other compression, EQ, any of that, because I would like to listen to your raw voice to give you apt feedback. And yeah, try to not send us live videos or videos with too much disturbance, because I would like to hear your voice clearly. And another tip that I've seen in the previous 2 lives is that many of you are recording with your earphones on. So try not to do that, especially if you're listening to the original song in the earphones and just trying to hum along with it, because more often than not, you will go off key or off beat, right? So try not to do that. Okay then, so let's kick things off. For this week's Feedback Friday, we have about 5 or 6 videos in store. Even I haven't watched any of these, so it's a surprise for me as well. I'm really excited to see what we have in store this week. Okay, so the first video is from Akil Chowdhury from Moradabad, UP. So let's take a listen to Akil.
लबों को लबों पे सजाओ,
Another famous
क्या
Hindi
हो
song.
तुम मुझे अब बताओ, लबों को लबों पे सजाओ, क्या हो तुम मुझे अब बताओ, तोड़ दो खुद को तुम बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में, बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में, मेरी बाहों में,
Okay, it cuts abruptly, but thank you so much, Akil, for sending that across to us. Firstly, I really like the texture of your voice, and you have good control of your vibrato. I think that comes sort of naturally to a lot of us Indians, because we have heard so much classical music. So those sort of runs are pretty nice to listen to, especially with the texture of your voice. You have a slightly higher voice. I think you could be classified as a mid to higher baritone or a lower tenor. If you guys want to know more about vocal ranges, you can go to our beginners Western vocals course and refer to the videos there, or there are also quite a few reels made on vocal ranges, so please refer to that. Okay, so now coming to giving you feedback. Firstly, I really like that you haven't used earphones, so you're not listening to the song, but you're still going off key even when you begin. Na 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 na. It's going like a bit flat. Of course, I exaggerated now. It has to be in one straight line, right? The melody. Na 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 na. So please focus on where the notes must be, and try not to sing it flat. A couple of ways to do that, as I've mentioned before: use an instrument or a free piano app on your phone and try to match your singing to the notes that you play, and listen to the song as many times as possible and try to listen to a line and then repeat the line and try to match the pitch. Ask someone in front of you if you are singing in the correct pitch. And these are two things. And another thing which you can do, because you're not listening to the song, is to either use a karaoke track in your scale. If that is harder, you can just use a Sur or a Shruti app, which a lot of classical musicians use, and just play the drone note of the key that you're comfortable in and start singing on that. So that is how you can improve your pitching. I like the part where you went na 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 na, but the last line of that, again, you went off key or off pitch. That's fine. We have spoken enough about pitch, but why I mentioned this part specifically is that I could see that you were straining a bit to reach those higher notes, even though they were not very high for your voice. If I hear your texture, those notes shouldn't be too high for you. So that tells me that you're straining. So try not to strain your throat, and try to push from your stomach or your diaphragm, and also try to push air upwards instead of singing ah and straining your throat. Try to push air towards your nose. Even if it sounds a bit nasal, it's fine. Na 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 na. This is much healthier than na 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 na, where you can also fall flat. And you could clearly see the second time I was straining my throat, right? So try not to do that. I'm not saying you were straining a lot here, because these notes weren't too high, but I can sense that even those small higher notes were sort of giving you trouble. So that is something you can do. And the third thing is to use a click track or a metronome for rhythm, so that you can sing to a beat. And the final point of advice that I can give you is, again, breath control, that I've spoken about a lot of times already, which is basically you don't know where to take the correct breath, right? So it happened with na 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 na. So that shouldn't happen. It should be na 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 na. So even though I took a breath, there was no stop in the singing, right? So the beat doesn't stop for anyone. So imagine you're playing with a band and there's a drummer. If you make a mistake, or if you take time to take your breath, the drummer is not going to stop for you, right? The band is not going to stop for you. So you need to know where to take the breaths. If you have a lot of space after each line, take a deep breath and sing along. If there is a continuous line with a faster rhythm like this one, maybe you can take it like na 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 na. Do these exercises where you take shorter breaths in each line and see how long you can last. And I've also mentioned the breathing exercise in our beginners course 107. Please refer to that. Basically deep breathing through your diaphragm, where this part expands, and then exhaling slowly through your mouth, but with your teeth closed and with a hissing sound. So you let air out slowly. Time yourself, and slowly your timing will improve, and hence your breath capacity or your air capacity will improve, and as a result your breath control will improve as well. Okay, so thank you so much, Akhil, for sending your video. Now let's check the next one. Okay, so the next song, or the next clip, is from Vaishnavi Singh from Bhagalpur, Bihar. Let's take a look. Okay, so Vaishnavi has just sent a 35-second long clip. Ideally, we would like it to be at least 1 minute long. You can send a longer one, but we would like to see different parts of a song, right? So if there are just 4 or 5 lines, it's not too conducive to give feedback.
ना हो के भी करीब तू हमेशा पास था
Again, a
कि
famous
100
Hindi song.
जन्म भी देखता मैं तेरा रास्ता जो भी है सब मेरा तेरे हवाले कर दिया जिस्म का हर रुआ तेरे हवाले कर दिया.
Okay, thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for sending your video. Okay, so firstly, one thing I would like to tell you is that you have a lot of potential in your voice. I would say you fall in a mezzo vocal range, and your voice is pretty pleasing to hear. It is a conventional female vocal that you would expect, right? So your voice has a lot of potential. I enjoyed the texture of your voice. And now coming to the feedback part. So even though it was a 35-second long video, I can give you quite a few pointers on how to improve. Firstly, I can see earphones, you're singing along with probably the song. So try not to do that because you won't be able to match the exact key of that singer in most cases, right? Because they're professionals and you're still learning. You would need that time to match the exact key. And of course, there were quite a few rhythm issues in you singing. So both of these stem from you listening to the earphones. So for that, as I've said, use a karaoke or just use a Shruti box or an app or a Sur box or an app to give you those drone notes, and use those instead of the song on the earphones. And a metronome app can help you sing on beat. It gives you 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives you the beats and you can slowly start singing. If it's a slow song, set it to a slow speed. If it's a higher song, set it to a higher speed and try to sing along. So this also gives you an indication of where you're going wrong with respect to the rhythm, and also you'll sort of start figuring out where to take your breath as well. Breath control wasn't too much of a problem here, but I feel if there is a much more rhythmic, faster song, you might face those issues. So use a metronome to practice. And apart from that, of course, the main issue here was the pitching, right? So as I've mentioned, pitching and timing are the two most important things for a singer. The the range, the texture, all of these come later. All of these can be improved as well. But these two are the fundamentals, what we call sur and tal, right? So these two need to be improved. So pitching, you went flat and you didn't sing in sur or in tune in a lot of places. Where especially at the ends of lines, I've also mentioned this in the previous session, that when people sing, when there is a section ending or a line ending, they're sort of thinking of the next line and they're singing the wrong notes here. So try to take it one line at a time and try to match the pitch. Use an instrument, use an app, try to play these notes and try to match the pitches exactly. And also listen to the song as many times as possible, sing along to it and ask someone to monitor if you're going off, okay? I mean, for that, you need someone with a good musical ear as well. And yeah, that's mainly my concern with you, the pitching, the rhythm, and using the earphones. Apart from that, your voice texture is pretty good. Yeah. And don't go to more complicated songs until you work on your pitching and your rhythm, right? Your sur and tal. Try to stick to songs like these, sing in your comfortable range, and then slowly move forward or upgrade to songs which can challenge you more, right? Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for sending your video. Okay, we have finished Akhil and Vaishnavi. Now we have Sukhwinder Singh from Nagpur, Maharashtra. Let's take a listen.
सारी रात आहे बरता पल पल यादों में मरता माने ना मेरी मन मेरा थोड़ा थोड़ा होश मदहोशी सी है नींद बेहोशी सी है जाने कुछ भी ना मन मेरा कभी मेरा था पर अब बेगाना है ये दीवाना दीवाना समझे ना कभी चुप चुप रहे कभी गाया ये करे बिन पूछे तेरी तारीफें सुनाया ये करे है कोई हकीकत तू या कोई फसाना है कुछ जाने अगर तो इतना के ये तेरा दीवाना है रे मन मेरा.
Wow, thank you so much for sending that across, Sukhwinder. I really enjoyed listening to that. You have a very, very rich and nice voice to listen to. It's very pleasing on the ears. And this is something I've observed with Punjabi singers in general, is that, the voice texture is usually higher compared to other singers. I don't know why that happens, but you have that typical tone of a lower tenor at least. So I'm 100% sure you're a tenor, because where you're resonating your voice is more in your nose and in your head rather than the chest area. So you have a higher voice, it's very rich, very bright, it pierces through almost, right? So your voice reminds me of a lot of Punjabi singers, Punjabi pop singers, and also a bit of Arijit's voice when he sings in his middle register. That is, I'm talking about the projection and how bright it is, right? So that's really nice. I loved listening to it. But now coming to a bit of feedback. Firstly, you weren't using a backing track or a metronome or anything, so it was completely a cappella. It was just your voice. That's perfectly fine. I think you were just holding your phone and doing it. Maybe place the phone somewhere and relax yourself and do it, because one thing that happened was, not too many places, but at a few places you were going a bit off in pitch. So you need to work on getting the correct pitches, right? So again, use an instrument or an app and get the pitching correct and make sure you're hitting the correct notes. The second thing, I'm not blaming you for this because it was a very rhythmic song. It was pretty fast. So there were a lot of notes in fast succession, but the beats or the rhythm felt a bit off, especially when you're transitioning between sections. Not very off, just during the transitions, it felt like you were slowing down or increasing the speed or something like that, just at a few places. So try to fix a metronome. So ideally, if you're doing it with a metronome, it'll be na 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 na, something like that. So it should be on beat all the time, so that is what gives that groove to a song, right? So just a bit of improvement on both the usual aspects of sur and tal, and I think you're well on your way to becoming a really, really good singer. Your voice, you have the talent, you have the voice. I think the emotion shines through in your voice. And lastly, when you are singing such a song, I would also recommend to take care of where you take your breaths, right? So if I'm doing na 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 na, whatever, I don't know the exact melody of it, but I just showed you an example of where I took the breath, right? So you could see there were short breaths, but when you have sustained longer lines, you can take a much deeper breath and then move forward. So that's pretty much it. If you want to challenge yourself, try to take a song which may be a little more in the lower ranges, which needs a bit of that chest voice and that husk in your voice. Probably take something like a Sonu Nigam song for that matter, or an Arman Malik song, and see how your voice sounds, because I'll be very curious to see how your voice resonates with such songs, right? So that is something you can do to challenge yourself. Usually challenging happens from someone singing a bit low to slightly higher, but with you it's the opposite. You're already singing pretty well high. It's bright and resonant, but not all songs need this sort of resonance. So you might have to tame it down at a few places. So maybe try the genres or the type of singers that I mentioned and see how it sounds. So thank you so much, Sukhwinder, for sending that across. So now let's move forward to the fourth clip for today. I think this is Vanya Pandey from Haridwar, Uttarakhand. Let's take a listen to Vanya. Again, this is a 43-second video. It's fine, but some cases it might not be enough if the song has longer sections. So try to send slightly longer videos, guys, so I can give you more detailed feedback listening to different sections of a song, because most sections in a single song won't have the same rhythm or the same pitch. So that variation would be interesting to listen in each of your clips. Okay, let's listen to Vanya now.
In the frozen dark of your winter, yeah. The coldest wind cruelly blows.
It's an English song.
Reaches up to kiss the highest mountain top, burying my broken heart in snow. Get up, build a fire that's gonna overtake the ice. Get up, build a fire that's gonna die the truth I've cried. And in the memories we shared, groves a mountain here instead. There wasn't any sun, there wasn't any moon, just my fire shining through.
Okay, so again, this is an a cappella video. Thank you so much, Vanya, for sending it across. Firstly, I think you have a very unique tone to your voice. An English song sort of suits your voice because I think the style in which you sang, especially the first half or the beginning of the song, was very unique. You had that sass, you had that attitude to your singing. I haven't heard this song particularly, but I think you did justice to this song in terms of your texture or your tone. So I'm happy with how you sang it, and I think you can improve your tone and work on a similar style in the future. Probably country music or more of folk pop sort of music, but more leaning towards female country. That would be the lane for you if you're choosing to sing Western music. And of course, I think you are a mezzo or a lower mezzo singer as well. For more information on vocal ranges, you can go to our beginners course or also refer to the reels on our channel. So I won't talk too much about the range part now. Okay, now coming to the feedback. Firstly, because you're singing a cappella without any earphones or backing track or anything, so there are problems with pitching as well as the beat. So I'm not going to repeat myself too many times, but the first section, I think there were 3 sections in what you sang. The first section was pretty all right in terms of pitch, even though it was slightly flat. But the second and third part, especially when you go low and then come back high again, that is towards the ending, I think the last 15 seconds or so, the pitch went flat quite often, right? So you need to work a lot more on hitting the correct notes, that is singing in tune. So use an instrument, practice, use a backing track, or listen to the song as many times as possible and try to match each note line by line, right? So that is the best way to do it. And maybe if the original pitch was a bit high for you, take a Shruti box or a Sur box or an app, as I've told you, and just use a drone note to remind you of the pitch and set it at a lower pitch which is comfortable for you to sing. Okay. Secondly, your rhythm was off in a lot of places, again, especially when you were going from the first to the second and then the second to the third sections, because these are very different rhythmically, right? So you can use a metronome or you can use a drummer loop or whatever. Just set it at the tempo or the speed that you want, whatever it is, 80 BPM, 90 BPM. So BPM stands for beats per minute, right? So like how we measure the speed of a car in kilometer per hour, we measure the speed or tempo, as we call it, of a beat or a rhythm in BPM, that's beats per minute. So try to set it at a lower BPM first and then slowly increase it to the actual song's BPM, and try to hit the correct pitches in a slower BPM, and then you can slowly increase it, right? So when you slow down everything, I think it gives you much more perspective of, oh, okay, I'm going wrong here, I'm going wrong there, I need to correct this, I need to take a breath here. So that gives you a lot of perspective, so you can do that. And lastly, the texture of your voice is really nice, but I think you're barely trying to push it when you have to go high or low, right? You're just singing and then suddenly you realize you have to go low, or that's how it looked like here. So that's why I say the video is very important. You just had to go low and then had to suddenly switch to that higher parts. And it was a bit abrupt. I think you need to smoothen those curves out, those transitions out when you're going low and then when you're coming back, and then when you're going high and you're coming back, you need to transition that. So you need to make that switching sound a lot more smoother. If you're singing middle and then when you sing high, so you need to make those transitions sound seamless. So for that, you need to make sure you're powering through with your abdominal muscles and not straining your throat. Make sure to also push air upwards to your nose when you go higher. And when you come back, you can engage your throat a bit more and make it a bit more airy, right? So these are the tips I can give you. Please work on both your sur and tal. And I think with the unique voice that you have, you would go a long way as a singer if you can work on these aspects. So thank you so much, Vanya, for sending that across. So the last video for today is from Nishtha Makkar from New Delhi. Let's take a listen to Nishtha. This video is 57 seconds long. I think that's pretty good. Oh, it also has a caption on it. I think she's posted this as a reel and then sent the same one across. No worries. Let me take a listen to Nishta.
Georgia,
Oh, another English song.
wrap me up in all your.
Until I Found
I
You.
want you in my arms and let me hold you. I'll never let you go again like I did. Oh, I used to say I would never fall in love again until I found her. I said I would never fall unless it's you I'm falling to. I was lost within the darkness, but then I found her. I found you.
Wow, Nishta, that was really, really impressive. So, firstly, your sur or your tune or the melody that you were singing, you were pretty much on tune throughout. There was not much issue with that at all. Secondly, you had the backing track on, so I could hear you were singing exactly on beat. So the basics, you have got them perfectly right. That is, the sur and tal are pretty much spot on, so nothing to worry about that. And the other thing I absolutely loved was the tone of your voice, right? So it's very rare, especially in today's climate, to find singers with, especially female singers with that rich, dark, dusky texture to their voices, right? Usually lower than the conventional pop or Bollywood singer that you would listen to. So I really loved how husky and dark your voice sounds, but it's rich. It's not, a lot of times when female singers try to sing those lower notes, it goes very airy, like they're trying to push the air. But with you, that wasn't the case at all. It was very controlled. It was very rich. So props to you for that. And again, so I can understand, because this was Stephen Sanchez's song, and he usually he is a baritone singer who sings mostly low. And if you want, you can also go check out the tutorial that I have done for this very song. I think it came out a couple of months ago on our channel. You can go to that for some further analysis. It's a pretty short video, so you can refer to that if you want a little more analysis of this particular song. For those of you who don't know, this is Until I Found You by Stephen Sanchez, and this has been trending on Instagram and everywhere on social media for the past year or so. And yeah, so firstly, very rich voice, the sur and tal both are pretty spot on. That's great. So what I have to give you now is not as much feedback as it is suggestions. Firstly, I think you're an alto singer, or maybe lower mezzo who hasn't discovered her full range yet if you haven't trained enough. So you can improve your range by following a lot of the exercises and the warm-ups that we have on our channel. So you can go back and watch all the videos, and you can follow the Western Vocals Beginners course as well if that interests you. But I think for now I would put you in an alto category, given how low you can sing. So that would be someone like a Dua Lipa, or even one of my favorite singers from the 80s called Sade. So she has a very rich, bright tone, low tone to her voice, and one of her famous songs is Smooth Operator. I think you should cover that. I would be really interested to see how your voice sounds singing Smooth Operator by Sade. That's one thing. So, but I know you are comfortable singing where you are now, but maybe just push yourself a little more. Try and make it a little more piercing and brighter, rather than, so it's very bright and chest resonant right now, right? So what if you try to push the air and the pitch a little higher, maybe not too high, of course. I'm not trying to make you sing Ariana Grande stuff, but maybe why not try something like a Selena Gomez song or a Taylor Swift song, or someone like that who falls under the mezzo category, but slightly higher mezzos, not sopranos. So maybe try those. And also, please don't stop singing low, because we need a lot more alto singers as well. Alto and bass singers these days, even baritone for that matter, in men, are completely underrepresented, whether it's in pop music or in the film industry, like whether it's Bollywood or any of the regional industries. So please try to work on this. And even in mezzo songs or alto songs, you can try to take songs which don't need you to push too much of that, what do you say, closed, bright, full sound, what do you say. So now it is Georgia, na 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 na. So it's a very resonant, closed sound, but maybe what if you try something like, so an example that comes to mind, the song Besharam Rang, or even for that matter, U Antava Mama, which is another viral song. These two are viral songs in India, and you can try singing those because they don't need this much of a closed sound, right? They are a little more airy and lighter, and not na na. You'll be singing na na. The pitch will be the same, the range, you don't have to push yourself too much, but the texture in which you sing, the style and technique that you will have to use would differ, and I would be really interested to see how those variations would affect your voice. So I think that's pretty much it. I really loved listening to you, Nishta. Thank you so much once again for sending us that video. So guys, again, after 5 videos, we're out of time for today's Feedback Friday. And don't worry if your video hasn't come up yet. We're reviewing all of them, and every Friday at 5 p.m. we are doing 5 or 6 feedbacks, right? So please keep sending them across. Hit the link in the description below to upload your entry for receiving feedback. I'll see you next Friday then at the same time. Until then, keep singing. Take care.